Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Marco Mazzola, and tonight I am joined by my very special guest, my beautiful wife, Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hi.
All right, so it's been a few minutes since you've been on the podcast, and, as we do, when you come on the podcast, we have special episodes, which would take a dive different from movies sometimes, or TV shows. So this week, we're going to be talking about Little Shop of Horrors. We'll get into the movie a little bit because I've seen it, but you haven't. But we're actually going to be talking about the stage production.
Yes.
So tell everybody where we went and where we saw the play.
So on Sunday, we went to see the closing show of the Little Shop of Horrors at the North Shore Music Theater.
Yes, that is Bill Haney's.
Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater.
Yes, in Beverly, right?
Mm-hmm, in
Beverly, Massachusetts. So we've been there a number of times. We saw the Nutcracker there.
We did not see the Nutcracker.
Not the Nutcracker. I'm sorry. Christmas Carol. Wow.
We did.
Christmas Carol. We saw the Music Man. We saw Evita. Evita there. And what else did we see there?
We were supposed to see Cinderella, but the cast got COVID and canceled the performance.
It was like the last performance, as was this one, and we keep seeing the last one.
And we're going to see Kinky Boots.
Yes, we're going to see Kinky Boots in a couple of weeks. Yes, absolutely. So if you've never been, a little plug for the North Shore Music Theater. We love it there. Mm-hmm. It's a round theater, so the stage is completely round. It's one of the only ones in the area, if anywhere, right?
It's called the Theater in the Round.
Theater in the Round. Thank you very much. And there'll be a lot of that tonight. So, it's fun because there's really no bad seats in the house. Mm-hmm. You can see everything. There's some structural stuff, but usually it doesn't really get in the way. Even the pillars and whatnot that hold up the theater, obviously, they're not very obtrusive. Even if you're sitting, we had great seats. You got our seats. We weren't that far from the stage.
No.
Really, it doesn't feel like anywhere's really that far from the stage, but we're probably more than halfway towards the stage. It was really nice. And what else was nice is that we were kind of sitting. If there is a front to a circular theater, they had a sign for the flower shop. We could see the sign that was facing us, so we were directly across from the plant, from the Audrey 2. So if you've seen the show, the movie, the play, lots of spoilers ahead. We're going to tell you exactly what happens. And we'll do a brief synopsis and then kind of go into what we enjoyed about the show, what we didn't. And then I'll talk a little bit about the movie and its histories. The prior stage production and where it actually originated. So we'll get into that a little later. So, shall I do the synopsis?
Sure.
Okay, so basically what's happening here is we're on Skid Row, and we're seeing a floral shop centered around Mushnick's Floral Shop on Skid Row. That's pretty much the whole name of the shop. And you're seeing, Mr. Mushnick, who owns the shop. You see Seymour Krelborn, who's like, his little nerdy guy that works for him. He was an orphan, and he's lived with him pretty much and worked for him all his life. And Audrey, who's, the how do you want to say it? I guess they kind of put her as the easy girl down on Skid Row. If that makes any sense, I don't know if it's.
I don't know. I don't know if she's easy.
Describe Audrey for me so I don't get us shut down.
I don't know. I think she's desperate for love and acceptance that she never had. So she puts up with a really abusive boyfriend.
Yes. Who's the dentist, DDS.
Who hits her and is not nice to her. And I don't know if she's the secretary at the flower shop, but I don't really know.
I think she's just another
employee.
Worker. Yeah, another employee who sells the flowers with them. So, it's basically that the flower, who needs a floral shop on Skid Row is kind of the whole point. Like, it doesn't make any money. He's about ready to close the shop, Mushnick. And then Seymour likes to cultivate or, loves really, rare and exotic plants. And he happens across this really rare and exotic plant that he tells the whole story of how he came upon this plant. Basically, it turns out to be, spoiler alert, a alien plant. It looks basically like a giant Venus flytrap. But at first it starts out really small. It's just sticking straight up, and you don't know really how. He doesn't really understand how to feed it or what to do with it because it doesn't come across as any plant known to man. Because again, it's an alien plant. And as the show goes on, he learns that he has to feed it blood. And at first he starts by... And one of the things we have to mention, of course, is there's a narration through this whole show. The three singers.
Yes.
Which almost like... what would you say? What kind of
They're like a Motown group.
Like a Motown group, right?
Yeah.
Kinda,
Chiffon, Crystal, and Ronette
thank you.
are the singers.
Now, you have the program, so you got to give me all those. So they basically sing the narration almost and kind of tell you what's going on, like almost in between scenes and things like that. So they're the ones who start you out, and it's not a huge cast in the production. In fact, a lot of them, some people play multiple roles, including the gentleman who plays the doctor or the dentist. What's his name? They have it there.
The dentist's name or the man?
The dentist's name. What's the dentist's name?
Oren
Schiavelli, right?
Schiavelli.
Yeah. And who plays him in this production? Let's go through that too.
This production, he plays a bunch of people.
Yes.
Ryan Knowles.
He plays a lot of the different people who come to get the plant from them and like to sign Seymour under contract for different things. And what else does he play? He
plays Oren the dentist.
Yep.
He plays Bernstein, Lucy, Snip, and others. So they're basically the people who, as the plant becomes famous, as Audrey 2 becomes famous, they're coming to sign him to contracts, show him on Life magazine, offering him a botanical show, all kinds of things.
Right. And so as we go through this play, you see that he realized that as a plant gets bigger, being fed blood, he keeps cutting.
But it has to be human blood.
Apparently it has to be human blood. Because he asked if he wants other things. And it's like, no. It has to be blood and it has to be fresh. So he cuts his fingers and keeps dripping it into the blood until it's too big, and that's not enough. And he doesn't have any more to really. He becomes anemic and doesn't really have any more to give. So then he has to start feeding actual humans. And of course, the first one to go is the dentist, because he's a dirtbag who is beating up on Audrey. Who he has obviously Seymour has an affection for her. That's part of it. He has an affection for Audrey and wants to be with her. But she's not going to dump the dentist because she's basically afraid of him if she does, what he'll do. So Seymour ends up he doesn't actually kill him per se, he just doesn't save him because the laughing gas basically takes it. He can't get the mask off, and so in other renditions he does actually kill him, and I'll go into that a little later and how it differs from the original movie, which is what this is based off. It's actually not based off an original play, it's based off a 1960 movie by Roger Corman, and then came the plays and then other movies. So that's where we get this one from. So as so then the plant starts growing, and it's just sort of like he gets caught up in the whole thing. He doesn't really know how to stop it because now the shop is wildly famous, and they're making more money than they've ever made. So he's got to keep this going, and everybody wants to see the plant. And then while they're there, they buy tons of flowers, and the plant just keeps growing and growing, and has to keep feeding humans, and people one by one start biting the dust on this, including Mr. Mushnick, who gets it.
Well, Mushnick figures out.
He figures out that what's happening, what Seymour's doing.
That Seymour that Seymour killed the dentist.
Yeah.
Killed Oren.
Right. So that's an interesting take. Then by the end of it, in the play version, and not the original movie. So
but the play.
The play, Seymour dies, but so does Audrey. Audrey goes first. The plant attacks her. He gets her away, but then she's pretty much been bit and is going to die. So she ends up dying in his arms, and then he feeds her to the plant. She's like, what the hell am I going to do with this thing? And this person, so...
Well, she tells him to.
Yeah.
She says, do that.
Yeah, and then, he in the stage production that we saw... He goes in there to take the plant out. Like he doesn't just sacrifice himself. Like, oh, forget this. I'm done with this. He goes in there basically to kill the plant from within, and it doesn't work. He ends up getting eaten. In the original movie, the dentist does die. Mushnick does not, and neither does Audrey. And the plant's not named Audrey 2; it's named Audrey Jr. So he calls it Junior the whole entire movie. He ends up committing suicide in the movie. He can't take the fact that he's a murderer, and he just willingly. So in the original movie, which is kind of weird, the plant does grow. It was an old black and white movie from the 1960s, and eventually they colorized it, which looks kind of weird sometimes, but they did a nice job colorizing it. But the plant, when it eats somebody. So in the movie and the show, you see like the little plants that come out, like that look like Audrey. This one has these big, like almost like sunflower buds, and when it opens up, there's a weird picture, almost like a drawing of the person it ate. So, that's how people figure it out, because at one point there's like a whole bunch of different buds that come out, and there's like this whole crowd in the floral shop, and all the buds start opening, and it's the people that we're missing.
Oh my God.
So eventually at the end of the movie, like Seymour's mother is there, and Audrey and Mushnick, and then the bud opens up and it's Seymour.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. And that's kind of how it ends. Mm-hmm. Right? That there isn't like this whole and then the thing, this alien plant takes over the earth.
Yeah.
And then, so I was weirded out because when I saw the play, it's the first time I've ever seen a stage production, and we'll get into the whole quality of stage production because I know you really loved it, and I did too. I think you liked it more than I did, but I did enjoy it. I will say that. But the movie with Rick Moranis, there's an original theatrical release where Audrey and Seymour don't die, and they go off and live their little happy life with their white picket fence and the whole thing, which is what they kind of talk about, getting out of Skid Row and having a nice life together. So that ends up what's happening. But then there's a director's cut, which is completely different, which is everybody dies.
Yeah. Well.
Audrey dies, Rick Moranis dies. He does not die he dies trying to defend himself from the plant. The plant's actually attacking him, and he's in the floor. And the plant just grabs him and eats him. Like it's a different variation. He doesn't commit suicide, nor does he try to sacrifice himself to get in the plant to blow it up. But in the original theatrical release, he does kill the plant. He hits it with electricity, like something breaks electrical lines, and he sticks the plant with electricity, and it shocks the thing, and it blows, and that's the whole thing. But yet, in their little happy life, when you see this little picturesque house with a picket fence, you look in the garden, one of the Audrey's is sitting there and it smiles at you. So it's like, okay, it's still kind of going to happen.
Yeah.
But the director's cut is wild. So he dies, and then the plant's lit. It's a Roger Corman, crazy stop motion. It's really, it's a director's cut, so it's not really well. They didn't put all the money into it. Yeah. But you can see the plant, taking over the earth. So, they have people running from New York, and these giant plants come from everywhere out of, So, in the way off topic here, kind of, but, I was watching this tonight because I've never seen the director's cut, so I kind of zoomed through because I wanted to see what was different about the ending. And, it happens. There's a guy who's a famous actor, I forget his name, but he basically gets the rights to the plant and has all the buds, and it's all over the world. They're selling these little plants, these Audrey's too, because, oh my God, everybody wants one, right? But it's amazing that the only way these things can grow is by feeding it human blood. But yet, all over the world, all these plants have now grown really big. How many people are duped into feeding these plants human blood?
But I think it's an allegory,
for that it takes over the whole world.
Yeah, but
nobody's like, this kind of sucks. Let's just take this stupid plant out before it gets too big.
No,
and it can kill people on its own.
I think it's an allegory for all kinds of things about the human condition, right? How many things do grow and grow and grow like that, and until we don't really realize until it's too late. There's lots of things.
But the progression of that plant. It's mildly
Don't take
big.
It as the plant. Take it as the message it's trying to send.
I got to take some of it as the plant. It gets to a certain point where it's not a point of no return. There's a point of no return, but they're not at that point, and you're still feeding this thing blood. It's not a point where it can then kill people on its own. It still needs help.
Yeah, but there's a point of no return with a lot of things, and people don't often realize the tipping point.
Yeah. It just seems like the amount of people on the earth are like, yeah, I'll kill people to get this thing huge.
Think of the amount of people on the earth who suffer from addiction, though. You know what I mean? It's a similar thing. There's a tipping point there with any kind of illness or things like that you often don't realize until it's too late.
It's definitely a message.
I think, I think it's I do. I think it's a... I think you can take it as a funny, campy show, or you can take it and think about it a little more deeply as the message, right?
Yeah, and that's really what the director's cut gives us, right? None of the other really... The original movie was something different, where he commits suicide and he ends up in there, but he's the only one who goes. And obviously the stage production is something different. So, so let's get into the actual stage production now that we've been about 14 minutes on the movies. Not that we can't go back there, but let's talk about the actual stage production because it was wonderful.
I thought it was great.
This is your first introduction. Obviously, you've heard of it before, but you've never seen the movies.
No, I've heard
this. You've never seen a stage production.
I've never seen it done. I've heard the soundtrack because you can't really be around the theater and not.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard the soundtrack, and I always thought it was cool and interesting, but I've just never, for some reason, never seen it.
Yep.
I loved it.
Talk to me. Why?
I thought, so I love the 50s flair to it with the chorus, with the three girls.
Almost kind of a
the singers. Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was really brilliantly done.
Yep.
But I also like the idea that here are these people, trying to better themselves, and they're in a desperate condition, and desperate people do desperate things, right? So you can take that any way you want. But I think that, Seymour's desperate to make money, to make a name for himself, to save Mr. Mushnick, to do better for Audrey. And so he does. He knows
and to get in a good way with Audrey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Just have her see him as something other than just, knucklehead.
He knows this isn't a good thing. He knows this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
But it starts off small. And then it grows.
Couple of fingers, all it takes.
And then it grows, and pretty soon it gets beyond his control.
Yep.
And I think that, that's, when I was watching it, I mean, the cast was tremendously talented. Audrey's voice was beautiful. Seymour's voice was really great.
Yep.
I enjoyed the casting.
So since it's a stage production here and more of a local thing, let's go through the actors and who played who.
Seymour was played by Andrew Montgomery Coleman. He was great. He was great. His voice was just beautiful. He really carried it. I thought he played the role of Seymour very well.
Yeah, he had that geeky, innocent,
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Audrey was Kim Sava, and she is Kim Sava. She was tremendous. So she had a beautiful voice.
Yeah, and she did the accent really well, that New York,
Yeah. And I have to say, I like leopard print. There was lots of leopard print.
Lots of leopard print, yes. You were in your heaven, yes.
Lots of leopard print happening.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed the costuming very much. The girls, the chorus, Chiffon was Maria Sylvia Norris. Crystal was Charlotte O'Ducia. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And Renette was Erica Durham. And they were terrific. Like, I love the harmony. I love 3-part harmony, 4-part harmony, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They sang tremendously well. They could really belt.
Yes.
It was just beautiful. And then then you have Ryan Knowles playing the dentist.
Yeah.
Who I thought he was very funny.
Right.
He has a very bass voice. And then the part obviously is written for a bass actor, right, to sing. But he was just his beautiful voice.
He was a homeless guy in the beginning, too.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
Yeah,
he played a lot of different roles.
Yeah.
He played a lot of different roles. But he did. I mean, it was really, really well done. And I think he played up that part of the dentist. Like, these characters are not multidimensional.
Right.
They're very much one-dimensional.
Yes.
And so, in some ways, I think that makes it easier to play because you just do it up.
Yeah.
Right? I think Seymour's multidimensional, but everybody else is more like...
Yeah, they are what you get. They're it's right on Front Street as to who they are, and they don't have to vary from... I mean, the dentist is very... he's a masochist, he's misogynistic, he's a
sadist.
Sadist, excuse me. Wow. Got that mixed up. He's a sadist. He just loves inflicting pain on people. That's why he became a dentist. You know what I mean? He likes enjoying it with his laughing gas and constantly taking it. What did you think of that?
What, that he was taking the laughing gas?
Yeah.
I think it's... I don't know, it was interesting. It was a twist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it was... talking about this guy who's really a pretty evil person, like, and enjoyed inflicting pain upon others. I think part of what it's trying to tell you is that you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this guy was successful and he was, doing well, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
He treated Audrey terribly. And Seymour didn't have, 2 pennies to rub together, and he was a pretty sweet guy.
Yeah. So and it's the first kill of the show, so you kind of like, you not overlook it, but you're like, yeah, I probably would have done that too. Or, I could, I could kind of, yeah, it's like, all right, you know what? He's not on this earth anymore, so the earth's a little bit better off without him. So, all right, Seymour, no worry, you get a pass on this one. Then the passes start going away.
Well, and because Seymour doesn't kill him, right? Like, Seymour he's using his laughing gas mask.
Yeah.
And he gets stuck. And Seymour just...
Doesn't help him.
Yeah. I mean, Seymour goes there to kill him.
Yeah.
With a gun, intending to, but he can't do it.
Yeah. Side note on the movie version, when at the end Seymour has the gun again with the plant, and he's trying to shoot the plant, and then at some point the plant gets the gun and starts shooting at him. It's a 6-shooter. They shoot off at least like 14 or 15 shots at each other. They never reload that gun once. I love watching stuff like it's a farce. It's a goofy movie. I love watching stuff like that. It's like that'd be a 6-shooter there. That's out of bullets at this point. Like Seymour shot off at least 4 himself. And then the plant gets it, shoots off like another 9 at him.
First of all, how does I can't even with stuff like that. Like, how does the plant even able to shoot?
Well, it's got the tentacles. It's got all those tentacles. It's how it moves around and everything like that. So it's holding on and did a little beep beep and shoots it. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's a giant alien plant, so there's a lot of suspension of disbelief.
Yes,
for the whole movie. Which it's okay. I mean, it is a really fun production. Yeah, I thought the production itself was really fun. I had some struggles with it. I tend to, and this is just me, I tend to have a struggle with their audio. It seems to be a little too loud at some points.
I didn't notice it at all with this one.
It was with the Christmas Carol, and it was still at this one. There's certain parts of certain songs, music, that it's just like the main's a little too high. Where at a point where even my watch went off. Is your watch has a decibel level meter, and if it goes off too high, it says like, this could hurt your ears. Even I looked at my watch had gone on. Like, yeah, it's a little too high in here. So, and I mean, that can go off at concerts and stuff like that, but that's meant to be that way. I just think the audio is a little louder than it needs to be for a theater in the round. The place is a good-sized theater. I'm not trying to say it's a small theater, but it's not, the Garden. It's not the Wang Theater. It's not the Wilbur even. It's smaller than that, and the audio doesn't need to be that high because you're sitting on top of it, right? Because the speakers are all around you in the ceiling. It's directed right at you, whereas like necessarily sometimes in a bigger theater, like it's up near the front and it has to reach all the way in the back. But this theater, it's like it's all almost the same. There's not that much of a difference. So
I don't know. I didn't particularly notice that. It really, I enjoyed every minute of this production. Like, I thought it was really wonderful. I thought it was well casted. I enjoyed the whole thing.
I thought the costumes were great. I thought the cast was amazing. I love the songs. There's a few extra songs in there that aren't necessarily like, that I remember from the soundtracks and things like that. They're, being a production, thing like that. There's a few extra songs that they probably left out of the movie. Or, well, again, the first movie came first and the stage production, which obviously added a lot to it because the original movie is not that big. It's it's an old 60s black and white. It's really not that grandiose. So they filled in a lot when they went to the stage production and then carried it through to the 86 movie.
Well, and I think the first act is much longer than the second act.
Yeah.
And that...
So somebody said that on the way out. I could hear somebody saying that when we were leaving.
The first act is a lot longer than the second act.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense. It's done that way for a reason. Because I think, after
there's a bit of time up to the first kill.
Well, yeah, like and after the dentist dies, it doesn't,
shifts. Then it's kind of quick after that.
Yeah, and I think that, I think in some ways it makes a lot of sense because you need all that build-up, right, to get to that point where Seymour is like, this is my only choice, this is what I have to do.
Yep.
So, I think I liked it. I was glad the second act was shorter. Because the intermission was too short for me to use the bathroom. But
actually, it wasn't. They just got you there back quicker. They started flashing the lights, and you could have made it.
Anyways,
but
anyways, it was. I thought it was really, really well done, and I have to say, I always enjoy the plays there. I like that the sets are always pretty minimal. Mm-hmm. But
I felt a little too minimal on this one.
Oh, no. I think it was really meaningful. No, because you didn't really need it. Like the Audrey 2 in and of itself. And
when it was huge, when it was big.
Yeah. But I also think, there's a lot with this that needs to be left to the imagination. Skid Row, if you try to depict it, it's going to end up looking like a farce or... derogatory or disrespectful or a lot of different things.
Yeah, I didn't mind Skid Row so much as the floral shop as Mushniks. I thought we could have used a little bit more.
No,
I don't know. Even the door was just barely a door frame. And the windows were
because it's theater in the round.
No, I know, but we've seen other productions there where it was a little bit more. There was a little bit more to the sets. I remember Music Man. And of course, A Christmas Carol. There was definitely more to the sets. It was a little bit bigger. It was a little bit more grandiose to it, but still able to see everything in a theater in the round production.
Well, no, I didn't with with Christmas Carol. There were a lot more scaffoldings. There was a lot more because Marley hangs from the ceiling and all of that. And I don't know. I liked this better. I preferred this. I like the minimal set. I thought it worked really well for this because I think a lot of this really operates to your imagination.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, so in my brain, and I get what you're saying 100%. In my brain, it goes through the 66 Batman series, where the first 2 seasons were especially the first season was they spent a lot of money on it, and the sets were full sets. By the time you get to the 3rd season, the popularity had waned. It was just slats and suggested sets. So that's where my brain hit. It's like, oh, it's kind of like, all right, they just kind of went 3rd season Batman on this one. They didn't really put as much into it. I felt like there should have been a little bit more.
Not everything is 3rd season Batman.
This one was. For me.
No, it wasn't.
For me. I have my opinions, and I'm okay to have my opinion. I love how you're shaking your head at my opinion. All right, we'll move on, since I'm apparently not allowed to have my own opinion.
You can have your own opinion.
But you can't say it's wrong, then.
I didn't say it was wrong. I just said I disagreed with it.
Oh, okay. That's what the shaking the head meant. Got it. All right. Usually that means no, you're wrong. But okay, we'll move on from there. So anyway, getting back at it, the music. Let's talk about the music itself. What was your favorite song? You know I ask these questions every time.
I liked Somewhere That's Green. I think that just really showcased her voice beautifully. It was really kind of like painful to listen to, like how much she's just longing for a normal life. I also liked Now It's Just the Gas. Like I found that really funny. And I like anything where the trio was. Like they really, really added to everything.
I would say the main title music is awesome. It's very catchy. It's
still in my head.
Yeah, exactly. It gets in your head and it stays in your head. It's an earworm. It definitely stays there.
Another thing that I like, and I know that you don't like this as much, but I like musicals that are more sung than acted.
This one I like. This was a lot more sung than some of the other stuff we saw. I did appreciate that, but I knew that going in. You know what I mean? If the movie is very musical, then the stage production is going to be even more so. So I knew that going in. So I on this one, I had no problem with that whatsoever. You know, obviously when we saw Evita, we know the whole thing is sung. So, you know, there's no real dialogue. It's just all sung completely. So,
and I don't
I'm okay.
mind,
I love that.
Yeah,
you know?
I enjoy I enjoy I enjoy when it's more sung. Like that's my favorite part of a musical. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely some musicals, you know, whatever, have more songs and some have more dialogue than others, you know. I said I was in Annie, and there's definitely more dialogue, even though it's very much based on the songs itself. You know, it's a lot of dialogue, but then obviously the beautiful songs are in there, too. So I like that when there's an somewhat of an even mix. But no, this was really good. A lot of songs in this one. But I thought a right amount. I thought there was enough dialogue and the right amount of songs.
What was your favorite song?
I like Suddenly Seymour.
Do you?
Yeah, for some reason I've always I liked that on the movie, and I liked the way they did it on the show. I thought that was really good. I thought it was beautiful voices. Again, it was really well done. But that's always been one of my favorite songs. So yeah, I was like when I saw it on the stage production at the North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts. I liked that little plug there. I liked their version of it. I thought that was really well done. I thought they did a great job with that.
No, Seymour was great.
Yeah,
his voice was really beautiful. I like a tenor voice.
And what did you think of the actor who played Mr. Mushnick?
I thought he was. I thought he embodied the role very well.
Yeah,
you know, I think he was an older man. And I think he played, like when you hear the name Mr. Mushnick, it conjures up a certain vision in your head, at least for me. And he played exactly how I expected him to.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that was lacking a little bit for the production is, you know, it's Skid Row. It's clearly meant to be New York. You know what I mean? And there wasn't, like, Audrey had the accent and pretty much nobody else did. Now, her accent, it's huge. It's over the top. It's that sort of gum snapping, do you know what I mean? Almost flow from, you know, Alice type, you know, like that heavy, thick accent. Obviously, hers was Southern, but this is New York. But I felt like nobody else really had it. Yeah, Mushnick didn't sound like he had the accent. You know, Seymour didn't.
No, but I think Mushnick had a different accent, right? Like, I think Mushnick had a different take on New York.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a Jewish name.
Right.
Right, but he didn't really even have that sort of error. You thought so? That the Jewish New York accent?
100%.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it at all. Not at all, but I didn't really hear it enough. Like, I just thought it was a little not there, that it, should have been a little bit more played up. Like, because Audrey played hers up. Obviously, the actress doesn't sound like that in real life. So she really played it up. And I would like to have heard him play it up just a little bit more than that, Seymour, it's kind of the everyman. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So does he? I mean, in theory, he grew up there, so he should have the accent. And you know what I mean? In the reality, but not everybody does. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? I'm from Boston, but not Boston proper. Like, I didn't grow up in South or anything like that, so I don't have a Boston accent per se. Mm-hmm. Some people might hear a little bit different, a little bit more of it than I think I do, but I don't have like a thick Boston accent. But there are certainly people who live in Boston who grew up in Boston that don't necessarily have that Boston accent. You know what I mean? My mother used to, more so, and she's she lived in Newton for so long, it's mostly gone unless she gets really tired or annoyed, then it starts to come out a little bit. She'd be the first one to admit it, but she used to have a pretty good Malden Boston accent, and now it's pretty much gone from having lived in Newton for the last 40 some odd years, almost 50. You know what I mean? Yeah, 50. So it can come and go, but the fact that he didn't have one at all was a little weird, I think, but I get the everyman aspect, which kind of, there's a good and a bad, right? Like, unfortunately, sometimes the stereotype happens where, like, the good characters don't have an accent, the bad characters do.
That's a good point.
So you don't really want to hit that, if you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you did, obviously, Audrey wasn't a bad character.
No, neither was
She's a troubled
Mushnick.
character, but neither was he. But like so many of those, either productions, movies, whatever, the bad guys, quote unquote, they have some sort of an accent from where they're from, and the good guy never does.
No, it's true, and I think that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that, but like Audrey definitely wasn't a bad character.
No,
and the dentist had no accent,
right,
whatsoever. So I think that doesn't really play out here.
Yeah,
but I think with Seymour, because he was so innocent, I think personally for me, having the accent would have ruined it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just would have taken away from the innocence in some ways. And that would have been tough for me.
Yeah. I got you. I understand. No problem. All right. What other parts, like, what was your really, other than the songs, what did you really like about, the show? We're going to go favorite parts and least favorite parts, because we always have to do that.
I think, I don't know. One of the parts that I really like is before they sing Suddenly Seymour and they're doing the entr'acte and callback in the morning when they're on the phone and talking and back and forth. I really liked that part.
Oh, when they're getting all the orders and stuff like that. That was great.
How in sync they were.
Yes.
How well they did that.
Yeah,
like
that
it was
pulled off really well.
Yeah, they were tremendous when they did that. That was really, really good.
That was a lot. And they did it for a while, too. Yep. It wasn't like a 2-second thing. Like, that went on for a while. And so to pull that off is a lot of rehearsal.
Yeah,
to get that so in sync and so, flawless, if you will, so smooth. Mm-hmm. They might say it's different. You know what I mean? Like, that's not as easy as it looks, obviously. But
no, that was pretty incredible.
Yeah, they made it pretty seamless. That was pretty cool. I liked that.
I also liked that. I mean, I really enjoyed the dentist song. Like, I think I enjoyed kind of, because he's the bad guy, and I enjoyed a little bit like watching him get his. Yeah. Because he kind of stomped on everybody and used everybody. I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed Somewhere That's Green.
Gotcha.
Like, it was really, I don't know, it just really hit me how much she wanted that life. And I knew she wasn't ever going to get it. Right. And I think that's probably why it made me so sad, because I knew what was going to happen.
Which totally shocked me. As I said, I watched the movie first. Mm-hmm. I watched the original theatrical release first. Mm-hmm. So when she bites it, and then Seymour bites it, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I don't remember this at all. This is not the way it's supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I read the synopsis before we went, because I don't like to be surprised.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I did not. I wanted to be surprised. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But and half of it was just, hubris. Like, I've seen this before. I saw the movie. That's all right. They're just going to do a stage version of it. What the hell? Mm-hmm. Everybody bites it. All right, got it.
What about you?
So, I liked some of the changes. I liked the dentist. I loved the actor. It was really good and played him very well. I loved the songs and their voices. We talked about the stage, production version of, like, the sets and things like that. The Audrey 2 was really done well. I enjoyed that and how they played it off, and they just kind of, it kept coming on and up from the side of the stage. I kind of wished at the end it came up from the center. They had a version that was like, it kind of took over the whole
stage.
Yeah, that would have been really, and it spun around, and people could, could have seen it. Everybody could have seen it. I kind of felt bad for the people who were like sitting beside it the whole show, because there were people on both sides of the thing in the theater, so they weren't really seeing the front of it or whatever. So I felt bad for them. But if they had like a giant version or something that came out from the center, I thought that would have been really cool. But other than that, the actual puppet and everything was pretty cool. It took me a second when Seymour's holding the pot and it's talking. Did you notice what was happening? So he was holding on with two hands, and he was walking, but the thing is talking, and so his right arm was fake, and he had another arm going into his jacket, and it was going up, and he was manipulating the puppet.
Well, sure.
The right arm was just like fake, because you can kind of see like they didn't fill. I thought they should have filled out the sleeve a little bit more. It was kind of almost like wispy a little bit, and then they had the hand. It was like one of those fake Halloween hands glued to the pot. So even when he fell and rolled, that hand never let go or anything like that, because it was fake. And so he's holding on with his left hand, I think it was, like for real, and his right hand is manipulating the puppet from underneath. So like once in a while you see an angle, you can see where his arm was kind of poking, from another sleeve of the thing. So that was pretty funny. But I thought it was a really good way to get around it for a stage production.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think... I thought that was really cool. I thought the person who did the manipulation for the giant Audrey did a really good job. And then the singer, who was the singer? Let's give credit to the singer who did the voice for Audrey too, because I thought she was amazing.
I gotta go back a page.
Okay, you go back a page. I thought she was incredible.
Tara Connor Jones. She was amazing.
Yeah, she was. Woof, boy, did she fill a room.
Baby!
Yeah, she was really good, and she played that all the way to the end, even after the bows. That she was still doing it. I thought that was really cool. I thought she did an amazing job.
Who she was.
Yeah, but even as they were leaving, after she'd introduced her and you knew who she was still doing it as everybody was like running off the stage. I thought it was really cool. I love that kind of exuberance and passion for it. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Would you go back and see it again?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah? Would you see like a different production from somewhere else if like they had it on Broadway or in Boston?
I like Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. I would totally go see it.
So you like the story? You like, where it goes? Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I would too. I mean, I would like to see, now that I know the other ending. Not a surprise anymore. Everybody bites it. I would definitely like to see it again and see how somebody else pulls it off too. You know what I mean? Even a bigger production. You know what I mean? Where they could, you think about like New York or Boston, what they could pull off with with all that. Because it is. I mean, God bless them. It is a really ambitious thing to take on. Even though the sets are minimal, like just doing the Audrey 2. Is a lot. That's a huge undertaking, especially where a lot of people have the movies or movie in their brain. They've seen that.
You know what, though? Like, lots of high schools do a Little Shop of Horrors, so I think there's something, like... And not that high school productions aren't great. No. I did a bunch myself. But, like... I think there's something about it that can make it accessible for people. And I think there's a way to make Audrey accessible and not as, doesn't have to be as flourish is the word that's coming to my mind, but it doesn't have to be done with so much flourish and pomp and circumstance. It can be done on a smaller scale. Yeah. And I think it could still be just as good. But
at some point it has to be huge, because it has to be able to eat a human.
Well, sure, but I think it doesn't...
So be able to pull that off and make it manipulate where it can actually... a human can actually go inside the plant.
I think there's other ways to do it. Yeah. I think there's ways to do it that other people have found. Sure. I don't know what they are, but that's,
something. So your next venture is you got to actually watch the movie with me. Okay. We can watch either the theatrical or the director's cut or both, or just watch the theatrical and then watch the ending to the director's cut or something like that. I don't really care, whatever you want to do.
We'll see.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. What else? You said we're watching Kinky Boots next. Is that coming out? When is that? Talk to us about when is that?
November 6th.
Okay, well, when is the actual production on
when
this?
Is the production of Kinky Boots?
Because the 6th is the last, right?
Yeah.
Like once again, we're seeing like the last show.
Look, I have information here.
Yes, you do.
So Kinky Boots is from October 25th to November 6th. Okay. And actually, I didn't know this. It's based on the book by Harvey Fierstein. And the music and lyrics are by Cyndi Lauper. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. Yep. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I've never seen the movie, and I'm not going to, like, until after we see the play. So like I'm reversing Little Shop of Horrors.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it. You know, I mean, not that I had a problem with comparing this one or anything like that. Like I was upset about it, but you know, again, it was different. But this time, I think I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna watch the show, the stage production, and then maybe we'll come back and watch the movie at some point. You know what I mean? Not necessarily before we do a podcast on it, but at some point we'll do that.
No, I'm really looking forward. I wanted to see Kinky Boots for a while.
Yeah, we're sad we missed Cinderella. Hopefully the cabaret's well and that cast is well and got over their COVID.
I know. It's just crappy timing sometimes. Yeah,
it happens, but as long as everybody's healthy and it's okay, it's good. And then next year they have a bunch of stuff coming up.
They do.
We haven't quite decided what we want to see next year.
They're doing the Carole King musical, So Beautiful, tons of music.
Yeah. They're doing Elvis production.
They're doing an Elvis production. Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett, and there's another one, and I can't remember.
Oh, we're gonna go see the Curious George one with
our son.
Yeah.
That's the kids version. That's the kids one.
Yeah.
That's in March.
Yes.
But
so if you guys get tickets for that one, go check that one out. And this podcast is going to drop on Tuesday, which is October 4th. So you'll still be able to get tickets for Kinky Boots. And I don't know, maybe the next year or whatever. At some point we're going to take the kid out to see A Christmas Carol. Not for a while though. It's pretty scary.
No, not next year.
No, not next year. It's going to be 3. It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
If you have heard our podcast on that one, that midsection there when Marley's flying around and whatnot, it's pretty scary. So definitely not for a 3-year-old. Which is what I wanted to talk to you about this one too. So we still got time. Little Shop of Horrors. There were a lot of kids in the audience. Thoughts on that? Oh,
I think it's perfectly I would have taken him if he was older.
Yeah,
like 10, 11.
10, 11. You think do you think is too young?
I don't know. I think it depends on the kid, right? I think how freaked out is your kid going to get? Because I think you need to think about, I wouldn't necessarily take a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? But I think it depends on, I think it depends on what your kid's been exposed to and how prone they are to nightmares.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. There's definitely how easily do they have the nightmares on things. Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to see here. The original movie is a PG-13.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't really know, again, with the stage production. But the original movie, not everybody bites it in the end. But that's kind of where my brain went.
Huh? You're still better.
I'm a little bitter about that. Well, because I like a happy ending, and it was not a happy ending.
No.
The original theatrical movie is a much more of a happy ending.
Because life isn't always happy.
I know, but I live real life. So when I go to a show or a movie, I like a little escapism because that's what a show or a movie is. It's kind of an escapism.
But this is a metaphor.
It's a wonderful metaphor.
For how crappy things take over.
I understand that, but do we need metaphors when we see it in real life all the time?
No,
I want to go to a theater production to have some nice... I can have a metaphor.
We're going to see things that aren't metaphors. Kinky Boots is not a metaphor.
How do you know? Have you seen it?
No, but I was reading about it. It's not a metaphor.
It could still be.
Okay, well, we'll put a pin in that.
Honestly, I'm not trying to be facetious. I actually think it is. I think there's some message behind what's going on in this. There's an internal message going on.
Well, there
usually is. So most plays and movies have some sort of a moral or message behind them.
Let's put a pin in that and remember to come back to it for Kinky Boots.
We definitely will. We absolutely will. So as far as the kid things, I mean, the only thing I found, is just that there's a lot of death, but it's not just death. It's a lot of there's murder and killing, and you know what I mean. This giant scary plant is eating people, and this person who's just feeding chopped up people to a plant. I thought that was a little much for some kids.
I mean, I think it depends on your kid. You know what I mean? I also think we've met 6-year-olds who play Call of Duty, so.
But we've also seen what happens to them when they do.
I'm just saying.
They come out with some pretty outlandish crap.
They do. There's things
that a 6-year-old should not be saying.
No, there's a variety of things. There's just a variety of approaches to this in this world. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely.
You don't have to be necessarily on either end of the spectrum.
No, definitely not. Absolutely not. All right. So overall, what would you give this rating? How many mics would? How many? What do you want to say tonight? Not mics. What would you think in a theater review?
I don't know.
How many thumbs up?
No, thumbs up. No.
Well, what would a theater review calculation be?
I have no idea, my love.
How many stars? How many?
I would give it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it.
5 stars?
I enjoyed it.
Good Lord. And call them North Shore Music Theaters. Find out how much they paid you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Don't say that.
I'm kidding. People know my humor on this podcast. It's just fine. A couple of weeks we were talking about what's her name's new candle at Goop.
I'm going to give Hamilton 7 stars.
7 out of 5? Okay, well, yes. Well, that's right. We are going to see Hamilton. We got tickets to Hamilton in January.
Best Christmas present ever.
That's right. Birthday, Christmas, Valentine's gift for you. I'm only kidding. They weren't expensive. They weren't that expensive.
Okay.
We can get the $500 tickets we got.
No, thank God I didn't buy those.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't tell everybody how much we spent.
Why?
Because it's nobody's business.
It's $175. So, it's out there. Not editing it. I don't care. So, that's going to be amazing. We're going to be in the room where it happens. And you have not stopped talking about it since I told you.
No. But
normally I wouldn't, but I kind of wanted to make sure that you didn't go buy tickets and that you saved the date.
Yes.
I had to put it on our calendar so that we had it on there.
Yes, which is important. But also, let's get back to what we're talking about, because that's, I only bring that up because I'm just explain to you how my rating system is going to work. How many stars would you give it?
I'm going to go 3.5.
Oh,
3.5.
Brutal.
I know. I know.
Brutal.
I know that we've been a year in the podcast now. It's made me salty. It's made me real judgy. But I'm judging it. And I'm not even judging it against the movie, because that's not fair. I'm judging it on, I guess, other productions at the North Shore Music Theater. That's all. Versus other productions we've seen there. That's strictly what I'm judging it against. There was a lot of things I liked about it, but some of the other productions I enjoyed more. The production, again, nothing to do with even the story, because that can change. The movies are different.
I really
against other productions we've seen, it was not my favorite production that we've seen.
Okay.
Did I enjoy myself? Hell yeah. Am I glad we went? Absolutely. Would I go see it again somewhere else? Yes, because I enjoy the story. I like the story itself. I enjoy the music. I enjoy the theme of it. I would see it as well. But yeah, if I had to get judged against other shows we've seen there, like Music Man, and yeah, I would give it about 3.5 out of 5. It's not bad. It's not bad. ABC, you're in the top 3. What do you want? So there it is. Anything else you want to talk about? We have a few more minutes left on the podcast.
No, I've
you're
said
good.
all I want to say.
You talked about everything you want to talk about.
I've covered all the ground I want to cover.
There you go. Oh boy, I remember this night. This is just like the first one. All right, gang. Thank you so much. Again, unfortunately, Little Shop of Horrors is now over at the North Shore Music Theater. It went from September 20th through October 2nd. Maybe next season, when we start doing other shows, we go to one of the beginner shows and drop a podcast so people can actually go and see it after we review it.
Not a bad idea.
Probably a better idea than the last show, and that's, all right, screw you. I hope you got to see it, because you didn't. Too bad. It's over. They've moved on.
Yeah, it's just worked out that way.
But again, Kinky Boots, we're going to go see that, and that one is from October 25th through November 6th. You can get your tickets at nsmt.org, and their Instagram and all that is at official NSMT. All right, so it's the North Shore Music Theater in Beverly, Massachusetts. Again, it's a wonderful theater. We went almost an hour ahead of time. Yeah. Which was really the way to go. We got really good parking. Parking can be a little rough if you go later. You park sort of like way down deep roving right field, and it can take a few minutes to get out of there. We got there early. We parked near the front. We got out there pretty quick. But even more so, we got there, had a drink, had some popcorn, some pretzel bites, and just sort of sat and talked to some very lovely ladies about the show and whatnot. So beforehand, we just kind of sort of to hang out, which we've never done before.
No,
usually we kind of get there just a few minutes before the show starts. Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think that's the move.
Oh, for sure.
I think next for Kinky Boots and stuff that we try to get about an hour early, get in there and have a drink and just kind of hang out and then get to our seats. So definitely, if you get a chance, gang, please visit the nsmt.org. A great production, great shows, a really fun theater to get to, especially, it's not in Boston. If you don't feel like going into Boston and fighting Boston traffic and things like that, and you're looking for good, well done, great production theater, we definitely suggest it. Like I said, we try to make a few shows at least per year over there. Now that COVID's over, we're going to get back to doing. By over, I mean it's in a state where we can really get out there and do our thing, and Mass are just a suggestion at that point over there. So
more safely.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to enjoy more in the seasons to come, and we'll bring those to you as well once you do it. So I want to thank Amy for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Always a fun time when we are together. And everybody else, we are Entertainment Rants at entertainmentrants.com. You can find us at all of our social media at Entertainment Rants. Drop us a line at engage@entertainmentrants.com, and feel free to drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd really like that, and we will read it on the show. Other than that, we have some other stuff coming up. Halloween, we're going to drop our Halloween episode where the gang and I review the original, Michael Myers Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. And we got some other fun stuff with some of our other special guests like Marie and Raphael Moran. We got other kind of things. I think Jason Craig from the Brain to Popcorn, he's got another show with me coming up. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy your Tuesday. And, we'll keep ranting, everybody. Bye, Amy.
Bye.